video, we're going to talk about a schema that has us holding back on expressing our thoughts and feelings, even when it's with people that might be able to support us with what it is that we're looking for. This schema generates stories that revolve around the rejection and shame that we'll experience if we actually open up and talk about things. And it often causes us to slip into completely avoidant behaviors where we just choose not to express anything at all. So today, let's talk about the schema of emotional inhibition. When the schema of emotional inhibition is activated within our personality system, we're left with a desire to avoid any spontaneous action that might involve other people. We want to stay away from the expression of feeling or emotion, and we've got a general apathy about the communication of what's going on in our lives. This is usually, but not always, done to avoid either the disapproval of others, feeling ashamed or humiliated about who we are and the actions that we've taken, or losing control of our impulses in some way. The narrative that's been generated by our own internal critics when they're connected to the schema of emotional inhibition is centered on the belief that we're simply not able to talk about our feelings. The most common areas of inhibition involve things like the inhibition of anger and aggression, or the inhibition of positive impulses like joy, affection, sexual excitement or play. And it generally leaves us with a difficulty expressing our own vulnerability or communicating freely about our feelings, our needs, or our general state of mind. This can lead to an overemphasis on rationality and logical thinking, while at the same time disregarding our emotional needs completely. These stories are usually created in a childhood environment if the expression of thoughts, feelings or emotions are either ridiculed or punished in some way by caregivers, older siblings, or people who hold a perceived position of authority over us. The schema of emotional inhibition was another that wasn't a primary schema for me, but one that showed up from time to time. When it did make its way into my personality system, my internal narrative revolved around the story that I can never tell you how I actually feel because my emotions are wrong and you will never agree with me. So I have to shut them down and keep them locked away so I can get along with you, and that way you won't reject me. This was a completely subconscious narrative that I discovered when doing this work for myself after years of emotional relapses on my journey of behaviour change. It was hidden deep beneath the surface, but when it got activated, it would spiral me into a place of emotional inhibition that was extremely difficult for me to get out of. Behaviourally, most people wouldn't have known that this was something I was doing. Internally, it was leading to an angry child that was filled with rage, desperate to be heard and understood in whatever way he possibly could. In my old way of doing things, dealing with the stories that were associated with this particular schema was hard to do at the best of times. It would usually get triggered when I was asked a simple question like, "How do you feel about that?" or "What are your thoughts on this?" And it would lead to a part of my personality suppressing my desire to express my inner feelings, as I had a story that you'd either laugh or invalidate my feelings in some way, and I didn't have the skills to deal with that at all. Eventually, I came to learn that this was linked to all of my childhood experiences, feeling like I was told to put my face straight by a number of different people whenever I was upset was the basic catalyst for it all. This was also the way I heard my inner critic regurgitate this narrative whenever I get emotional in any way. Whether that emotion was joyful or painful, it really didn't matter. I could not show you how I was really feeling, as this would generally lead to some sort of condemnation or rejection. "Suck it up, buttercup" was the general gist of my thoughts, which I must have heard somewhere, but I honestly couldn't tell you where exactly that was. Developing my ability to advocate for myself was heavily involved in changing this story, meeting my unmet needs for autonomy. Learning how to recognize the shift in my emotional experience into a state of emotional distress when this schema was present in my system was the way I learned to spot it. Using the dialectical behavior therapy skills of mindfulness combined with stop, checking the facts, and planning ahead to build mastery gave me the mindful narrative that I needed to re-educate my parts into a place where I could remove the rigidity of belief that was associated with this schema. Removing this particular rigidity helped me create the possibility of actually living the life I wanted to live, being the person I wanted to be, in the areas of life that are important to me right now. At the bottom of the website page that's connected to this particular video, you'll find a PDF that contains a worksheet to help you figure out if the schema of emotional inhibition is one that plays a significant role in your own personality system. If you can, take the time to download it and work through each of the questions slowly. If you've got an opinion on this or anything else to do with the integration of DBT and schema therapy, honestly, please leave a comment in the chat. I'd really like to hear your point of view. If you want to know more, come join the live online meetings that I facilitate each week on Zoom. I'll leave some links to those groups in the description below. And as always, if you like the content of this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and turn on those notifications for all the latest from me and the Liberation Place. I really hope this video gave you some ideas on how the schema of emotional inhibition might be relevant for you and your own personality system. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Take care, be safe, and be well.